Today, we're going to dig into the mechanics of power by looking at three really prominent figures: Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Tariq Nasheed. Now, they're all major voices, for sure, but how they build and use their influence, well, that's where things get interesting. Let's jump in. And this right here is the big question driving our whole analysis today. You might see some similarities on the surface, but real leadership, real power, it isn't just about personality or what someone says. It's about the method. It's about the playbook. And that's what we're here to break down, the actual mechanics of how it all works. So let's get this out of the way first. Yes, of course, there are some common threads. They all frame their arguments in the language of morality and justice. They all mobilize people around Black identity. But honestly, that's kind of where the similarities stop, and the really fascinating differences start to kick in. Their playbooks for actually gaining and using power couldn't be more different. To really wrap our heads around these differences, we need a consistent way to look at them. So we're going to use what we'll call the power playbook to dissect how each of these leaders really operates. Our whole analysis is going to hinge on these three key areas. First, what's their fundamental strategy for getting power? Second, what is their relationship with actual institutions? And finally, what are the outcomes they're actually trying to achieve? This structure is going to give us a super clear side-by-side comparison. All right, let's dive into the first part of our playbook, the core strategies. This is all about where their influence comes from. Are they applying pressure from the outside looking in, or are they trying to secure a position on the inside looking out? Okay, so this slide just lays it out so perfectly. You've got two totally different models of power here. On one side, you have the pressure from outside model. This is the Sharpton and Nasheed playbook. They get a ton of attention, and that attention becomes their leverage. It's all about visibility first. Then on the other side, you have Jesse Jackson's power from inside model. For him, attention wasn't the goal. It was the key to get inside the institutions where he could then trade his influence for actual policy changes. And Jackson is the perfect case study for this insider model. I mean, he didn't just want to be heard. He wanted a literal seat at the table. Running for president wasn't just some symbolic thing. No way. It was a calculated strategy to force his way into the Democratic Party's inner circle, where he could sit down and directly negotiate, trading his movement's support for real, concrete policy promises. So this all boils down to a really crucial distinction: machinery versus platforms. Jackson built machinery. Organizations like Operation Push. These things had offices, staff, budgets, detailed policy papers. They were built to last. Sharpton and Nasheed, on the other hand, build platforms. Their power comes from their media relevance, which lets them project influence really quickly. It's incredibly agile, but it just doesn't have that same kind of institutional foundation. Okay, let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle. Now we're going to talk about the fuel that powers all three of these guys. And as you'll see, they might be using the same fuel, but they've built completely different engines to burn it. The raw energy source, the thing that gets the whole engine going for all three of them, is injustice. They all draw their power from highlighting wrongs in society and challenging them. But what they do with that energy, that's where their playbooks just completely split apart. And this breakdown is just perfect. Think about it like this. Jackson's engine is a political one. It takes the fuel of injustice and converts it into votes and specific policy demands. Sharpton's engine is all about media. It turns that same fuel into headlines, TV appearances, and access to the people in charge. And Nasheed's engine, it's a cultural one. It turns injustice into controlling the narrative and building a fiercely loyal online community. See? Same fuel, three totally different outputs. So what's the whole point? What's the end game for each of them? This table makes it crystal clear. For Jackson, the ultimate prize was tangible. We're talking laws being passed, money being put into budgets, people getting appointed to powerful jobs. For Sharpton, the goal is to stay relevant, to be the person everyone calls to mediate a crisis. And for Nasheed, the end game is cultural authority. It's about owning the narrative. Okay, we've looked at the strategies, the relationship to institutions, and the ultimate goals. Now it's time to put all the pieces back together and come to our final conclusion. Let's bring it all the way back to that question we started with. After breaking down all these mechanics of power, is Tariq Nasheed's playbook more like Jesse Jackson's or more like Al Sharpton's? The answer really is hiding in this core idea. The thing that defines the model we're talking about is using media leverage completely separate from any formal institutions. The power comes directly from the platform itself, not from some big political machine built behind the scenes. And that leads us to a pretty clear verdict. based purely on the method, on the mechanics of power. Tariq Nasheed's approach is far more aligned with Al Sharpton's. They have both built incredibly powerful platforms that project influence primarily through media. Now, this is a really important point to make. This conclusion isn't about their beliefs or their ideology. This is not a moral judgment. It is purely a strategic analysis. We are only looking at the how, the mechanics of building and using influence in the world today. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. In our current digital age, where everything is about social media and our attention is scattered all over the place, which of these power models is actually more effective? Is it the slow, hard work of building institutional machinery, or is it the fast, nimble power that comes from a media-driven platform? That's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.